cannot do that because that would require me
Right.
to.
We're here. We're live. We did it.
Good morning.
Oh my goodness. Shout out to StreamYard. Oh, hey everybody, it's Nurse Tanya. We are experimenting. I just figured out that StreamYard will allow me to have guests and they can stream to their platform as well. So say hello to Dr. Keller.
Hi,
Say
Dr. Keller.
Hi.
hey, say hello to Jen.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, happy Friday morning. We're going to talk about some peptide talk. We're going to let Dr. Keller open up and tell us what peptides are not. Take it away, Dr.
Hang
Keller.
on. All right, hang on. I got my notes here, but I just updated my phone like right before we went live. So let me pull up my notes.
Awesome.
Okay.
And maybe start in with why you have chosen to get on the peptide bandwagon.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I didn't even realize initially that GLP-1s are a peptide. I studied them for my pharmacology board exam a few years back when I had to take a new one. So much fun. And just read about them and all the normal things. And then, heard all the negative stuff about them and the videos and the YouTubers when these are evil and they're awful and they're doing all these terrible things. And I'm like, yeah, of course they are. We should get everybody off of those, and then keep going. And I hear Dr. Tina talking about peptides and how it's helped her with her autoimmune condition. And I'm like, okay, my ears are perking up because this is my jam. That's what I do. Okay, cool. So this is a peptide, and you start hearing new things and new information, and it's peptides. Of course, I studied those in biology, but back in those old days of, I don't know, long enough ago, I'm old enough. Nobody talked really about them. They were just little steps on the way to a full protein. Like nobody in medicine, nobody in biology was paying him any attention. So I'm starting to go back and learn about this again. Like, oh yeah, and the peptides and this, they're, just amino acid strings. It's like, like those pop beads we used to play with when we were kids. You just string a bunch of them and here you go. And they might fold a little bit, but they're not big enough to make, a full-on protein structure that you can't make with those beads. So it's not a very good illustration, but it was the thing I could think of. And the things that they're doing, I didn't realize there was more than just, that you could actually use medicinally. And so when I found the, places selling them, I worked some through some compounding pharmacies. It was a little hard trying to figure everything out and, put it all together. But regenerative medicine is where it's going. And the fact that these can do that, the amount of stuff that they're good for, it's pretty cool. It's really pretty cool. And the fact that they work with your body, it's not, it's not just another pharmaceutical drug, though they like Frida. But anyways, so they're, what they are not is hormones. They work with hormones, and it's not a steroid because, well, some of your steroids are hormones, but it's not prednisone. It's not cutting down your inflammation that way. It's not suppressing your immune system. They're signaling molecules, sort of like what a hormone does in some ways, but it's totally different. They're a protein amino acid structure. They're not a steroid, not a hormone. But they give your body the messages to use those things appropriately. You can repair tissues. You can regrow things. It helps burn fat because what else do we want here? How about rebuilding tissues, healing broken body parts and worn out joints, and just bringing balance back to the whole system? So they can do a lot, but you still have to have all of the health routines. You can't just take them like a magic pill. It's not that, or a magic shot, whichever way you opt to go with these things. You still have to sleep. You have to drink water. You have to have digestive function, because especially with some of the peptides, if you can't eliminate and you can't digest, you're not going to feel very good with these things.
Constipation. So, we will talk about that more. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that pretty much is an enemy of most things that you need for good health. I mean, constipation is
with
like
or without,
plugging,
right?
Yeah, let's plug our sink and then like hope it doesn't overflow and make the mess of the kitchen. So yeah.
All right. Let's let Jen jump in a little bit here.
Let me close my door because my dog is.
Jen's dog.
Distracting.
All right. Well, I'm gonna warm the stage for Jen. Jen has got the best peptide story I think I have heard yet. I am using some peptides myself. I'm using the GLP-1 GIP, and we're gonna say brand names here in this live. So that is the trizepatide. I was in the I'm gonna stay all natural crowd, and then like Melody was saying, I got enlightened. I heard, okay, these are not actually medications. They are signaling molecules. So Jen has got the most amazing results story. I've got to say, I'm like a fangirl. I'm a little bit jealous. Are you ready, Jen, to jump in?
Yeah.
So for you, what are peptides not?
What are they not? Well, they're not hormones. They're not a quick fix. I want to go right to that. They're not a quick fix. So I don't even know how many customers I have right now, a lot. And I do weekly check-ins and stuff like that to guide people along. And before anyone even signs up, I'm like, this is not a quick fix. You have got to clean up eating habits, start exercising, all the things. But it does help because, I mean, all the exercise I'm able to do right now is walking. I do a little bit of light weights, but because of my spine stuff, I have to kind of watch it. And so it's not a quick fix at all. I had one customer, she was kind of stalling and getting frustrated because she's not losing very much weight. And so I said, hey, send me your meal. What did you have for breakfast? And was able to switch things up. And then she started losing some weight. So it's been amazing for me. I started it because my inflammation markers with my Hashimoto's were going up. I was in a ton of pain. And since I already went through cancer, or I was still in cancer treatment actually when I started, but since my inflammation markers were going up, it was imperative to get that down. And I'm gonna be honest, I was against it. I walked out of the doctor's office like, you're crazy, I'm not doing this. And then my cancer naturopath got on with me and said, you need this, and basically told me, if you don't get your inflammation down, this stuff can come back. It's probably going to come back. So that's why I ended up going on it. And so I started July 3rd. My first set of labs were only like 3 weeks later. And my antibodies went down, I think it was like over 100 points, and then got them retested again, went down again. They've kind of been, I'm be honest, they've been going up a little bit. So I kind of started freaking out again. But I'm in a lot of pain since I did that ablation on my neck. So it's causing a little bit more inflammation in my body. And my herniated disc is not doing good. So it makes sense, but I still can pinpoint where my pain is. Whereas before I started it, I couldn't. And that's a scary thing when you have any sort of chronic illness, especially once you've had cancer. That's what they go off of, is where your pain is. So I mean, if you have any sort of autoimmune stuff, I listen to so many podcasts. There's ones out there about MS that I've really been going down that rabbit hole. So they're having patients on the low dose that have MS, and on their MRIs, it's showing that their disease is not progressing. So, and I have 3. I just saw another friend on Facebook just announced she has MS. So I think I'm up to like 4 friends that just in the last year have been diagnosed with MS. So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Yeah. Wow. So that's a little, and plus I'm down almost 20 pounds. I'm like 1 pound away. I've been kind of stuck, but I was just in Georgia I just got on the scale this morning and I'm 2 pounds less than when I left. So I just keep saying my body loves the sun. So, but I did a lot of walking and I did not eat like crap when I was on. A lot of times when I'm away, I eat crappy. And of course I was eating out, but I chose like most of the time chicken. I had fish one night. But yesterday I was like, you know what? I haven't had a burger in like a week. I'm going to have a burger. I just didn't eat the whole bun. I just ate half the bun. And guess what? I had fries too, because I'm not going to not have that stuff if I want to have it. It's just kind of like licorice. I love this black licorice stuff. And I used to be able to sit down and eat a whole damn bag. And now I can have just a couple pieces and I'm fine. So you can still have the stuff. It's just don't eat all of it, you know?
Well, and it's like that part of your brain that where you're fulfilled, like you can quit. That, why don't we talk about who's ever watching, who's in fear, or would it be if you were on peptides like us, who would be in fear of this holiday season and that 5 to 10 to 15 pounds that you feel like is coming at you because you can't keep your fingers out of that sugar. Everybody's baking, everybody's favorites, the whole love is sugar, love is sugar. And this time of year, so, then when you're 20s and your 30s, you get back to January, you can work those holiday pounds right back off. But when you start to get closer to that 50 mark and your metabolism, your metabolic health, all of that is in the tank, that holiday poundage stays with you. Do either one of you girls want to talk about that?
I think it's closer to 40 years old, to be honest, because after I had my youngest daughter, I was 35. All I did was change my diet. That's all I did. And I got down to 138 pounds and I lost it like that. And I was exercising too, but nothing crazy. Okay, tried the same exact thing after, how old was I? It was after I was 40 and I couldn't lose an ounce. And I'm like, what is going on? But when our hormones change and all that, I mean, because this even balanced out my hormones. For some reason, I had a complete hysterectomy. My estrogen shouldn't be spiking, and it was. But after I started the GLP-1, now it's non-detectable again. And my fatty liver disease, my liver enzymes are completely back to normal. The one that confuses my oncologist and my primary care is my anemia. I've had anemia for a long, long time, even before I had cancer. And she was like, this is weird. I can understand all the other things that are going on, but your anemia is resolved. So I don't know why that is. I need to research that one a little bit more. But
what do you think, Melody? My first thought is digestion. You're digesting better. Like that's my first thought.
Yeah, and actually my guts have been really, really good. Like I'm normal, whereas before I was not. So,
and that could be, I mean, minerals can be sort of hard to digest, and iron is known to be hard to restock, if that's the form of anemia that we're talking about here. There's several. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know about that one either. I'm still in the research and learning phase. There's so many options out there, but I think that's awesome. And getting your inflammation down helps too. I think maybe your body can use things better. Ferritin, which is the storage form of iron, is also an inflammatory marker. So if your ferritin's low, it's low. You're low on iron. But if it's high, it doesn't necessarily mean your iron's high. It means your inflammation's out of whack. And I don't know, but there may be some correlation between, inflammation and not being able to store it, or maybe it's oxidized. Maybe you get rust instead of good iron. I'm not real sure. The mechanisms there aren't something I've looked into, but because it's an inflammatory marker, I'm wondering if that might have something to do with it.
I bet it does. And yeah, probably my guts too. So
yeah, it's nice when your guts function properly.
Yeah.
This is exciting, you guys. We have a few people that looks like they're watching on some of our pages. I want to invite people to shout out. I can see your comments. So if you've got any questions for our panelists here, shout them out. Let us know where you're at and what you're up to. We will have this on a replay option. So if you've got questions, we'll try to get back to you. We're going to do this a little bit regularly. So it really helps us out if there's some questions out there. Jen had mentioned that her clients are struggling with constipation, and we've got Dr. Keller here on the line. So let's hear what Dr. Keller's got to say about that. We already know that a lot of times there's a connection with hydration. We know that there's a connection, sometimes whey protein. If you're using a protein powder that's got whey in it, sometimes that can be part of the issue. So let's let Dr. Keller see if we can combat that, because we don't want people to have to go down on their dose. And we don't dose it. We let LEMD do that. But we want to give people tools, and it's real. Like constipation is just not about the peptide. The peptide does naturally slow things down. So we do have to be aware of that. And it's not necessarily bad. We just have to have some tools in our toolbox. What do you think, Dr. Keller?
I think constipation is so common. That's one of the questions I ask every single patient. How are your bowel movements? How often do you have them? Yes, I ask about poop. It's really great, but it affects so many things, because if it's not going out, where's it going? And your liver does all this work to conjugate toxins and get rid of them. And if your bowels don't eliminate them, they get to recirculate, get reabsorbed, because that's what the large intestine does, reabsorbs water and minerals and all kinds of things. So yes, hydration is definitely important, but there's so many factors. I try and get patients to have at least one good bowel movement per day, preferably 2 or 3. I do a lot of work with detox. And so before I start anybody detoxing or doing anything like that, I want to make sure they're going, because, I work with removing parasites, because they do so much damage and they hold on to all kinds of other toxic stuff, shall we say. And so if you can't eliminate that, you're going to feel really crappy. If you've got an autoimmune disease you're treating, you probably know about Herxing or Herxheimer reactions. I think that's a piece of it. So I make sure that my patients, drink water. There's all kinds of arguments about how much is right, how much is enough. We'll just leave that for some other time. But it's not enough. You can't just drink your way to regular bowel movements. You got to make sure your nutrients are right. Magnesium is something that's really helpful for over 300 different body functions. And with, magnesium oxide and some of the other ones, if you take high doses of that, it will bring more water into the colon and help you eliminate it. So those yummy magnesium drinks you can get in the store, they'll make you go. But when I personally, I had to give some to my kid once. It did not really go over well. I
had to take that too, and I only took like a teaspoon or something. My husband, when he was having a hard time, he drank like half the bottle, and I was like, and he just had like, a normal bowel movement, where I drink a teaspoon and I thought I was dying. But it does work. What are your thoughts on, because I eat a lot of fruit, and I think that is why, and I used to not. And I think that's why also my stomach is I just haven't had an issue with my bowels since I started this, which I'm shocked about. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think it helps because they've got fiber. There's water in your fruits. So it's a good thing. It may not be enough for everybody. Food sensitivities will slow it down. And there's people I know with severe slowing of the gut function, people with small intestine bacterial overgrowth and things where your guts are just stuck. So that can be a problem. Fruit, dietary intake is huge.
And nobody wants to hear it, right? Nobody wants to hear it. But those 7 inflammatory foods, cut the gluten, cut the dairy, cut the sugar. Even on this journey, people don't want to hear that. And it's one of the major things.
I think one of the other major things, grains. I mean,
For sure.
For me anyway, and I think one of my customers may have SIBO, and only because I had that. And when you have that, and your body just will not process things correctly, and she's gonna go and see her functional provider and kind of get checked up. And I'm like, ask them about that. I go, because I still take my supplements for it, just because, and I had the candida overgrowth too. And I don't know if that's the same as, I don't know, but
it's not. But the bacteria, with the wrong versions of bacteria, also encourage yeast to grow, and candida is a yeast. It's crazy, because what originally starts this, nobody knows for sure. But if you've got SIBO, it's because there's bacteria from your colon that are backing up into your small intestine. And those two have very different bacterial colonization needs. And so, you got to treat that. You got to get things moving forward. But at the end of treatment, if you don't take something that helps your bowels start to move with regular peristalsis, or the squeezing that moves everything down, then it's likely to reoccur again. So that's a part of treatment. Getting the muscular contractions moving the right way. And we're not talking, these are not like your arm muscles lifting. You can't just lift weights with your gut and hope that works. It's different biology, but it definitely helps to have things on board. And thus far, the most tried and true helpful thing I've found for constipation is a product called Bowel Mover from Cellcore. And I've been using that with patients for years, and it works. Sometimes they need one capsule. I had one patient that needed 6, but it's formulated by a scientist who's absolutely brilliant. He put this all together. I mean, he's one of those people that can see chemical structures in his head and combine them in his head. And I don't know. I took organic chemistry. I can't do that. That is not a superpower I possess. But this stuff works. And in fact, when they were formulating this, it worked so well. He was working for a pharmaceutical company. It was so good that that pharmaceutical company put it on the shelf and didn't patent it, didn't sell it, because when they had people taking it in the studies, they were decreasing their medications. And, well, they couldn't have that. So it sat on the shelf for years. And when the patent or the rights to it expired, that's when they got to have that product back. So I use that a lot. I haven't had anybody have issues. It does have a little bit of black walnut hull extract. And so if you've got a nut allergy to walnuts, I'm not going to give that to you. The way they formulate things, though, the extracts and everything kind of changes form. So if you just have a mild one, not an anaphylactic one, it's probably still safe for most people. But I'm certainly not going to take the chance that you're going to need an EpiPen. Other than that, this stuff works. I mean, it really does. It's not something you have to take forever, because once we get your bowels moving, we can start working with parasites, and that's a whole nother conversation. Probably not one you want at breakfast.
I think a good thing for everybody to keep in mind, especially if you're doing GLP-1s and you're focusing on protein and you're eating like more carnivore or more meat, that we've got to have that stomach acid. So if you can do that diluted apple cider vinegar before you eat, those meat products, they do naturally sit in your colon longer. So those are things that we always have to be aware of. Or even if you can do the taste of it, slippery elm powder is super cheap. So a cup of hot water in the morning, you can do like apple cider vinegar, warm water, lemon juice, throw some slippery elm powder in it. That is even before bed, you can do that as well. So you're stimulating those things before bed. There's so much we can do. Throw some meg citrate powder in that. Many, many ways to combat it. I love LEMD's protein powder. It's got slippery elm in it. It is whey free. So it's all plant-based, and that is super helpful. You get 29 grams of protein, plus you get, and it's even got the probiotics, prebiotics, a lot of good stuff in there.
You know what I've been doing is the chocolate protein powder with organic frozen cherries.
Ooh.
And it's like a chocolate covered cherry. It is so
that
good.
sounds
But
good.
that's probably another reason why my bowels are normal or like way better than they have been too, because I drink that every single day. So.
Yeah, I'm boring. I'm the frozen banana because that helps the texture of it. I don't care what protein powder I use. They all want to have that texture, right?
Yeah.
Texture, right? I can't do the shaker bottle in water. I am just not tough enough for that. I need the blender. I need the ice. I need all that. But I'm the chocolate, nut powder, and a banana and some nut milk. That's my favorite. But I'm simple. I don't want to get 1,000 different things out of the cupboard. So that's why I love LEMDs, because all those if you were going to build that yourself, you would have like 50 different, things of herbs and ingredients you'd be throwing in the blender. I'm just going to say flat ass lazy in the kitchen. Like, I want this stuff done for me. I want somebody else formulating it. I want to, so it's it's an awesome protein powder if you guys haven't tried it yet.
I don't eat protein powder. I just can't do it.
You're scared of it, aren't you?
No, I've tried some. I don't like smoothies, especially in the winter. It's too cold.
Yes.
I'll do them once in a while. I haven't tried the LEMD protein powder yet because I just go, they sit on my shelf and I don't eat them. But what I do for my kids is, we're coming into hot chocolate season, right? I buy the big old vat of it at Costco and I look at the back of it and I go, like 30 grams of sugar per serving. Oh no, we can't do this. So my kids get Proco, is what they call it, protein cocoa. I buy a chocolate protein powder, put some in hot water. I'll put maybe one small spoonful of the extra cocoa powder mix, whatever, in with theirs to give it just a little bit extra flavor and chocolate. And my kids drink this stuff because that's what they hear from me every morning. Have your protein. No, we're not having Rice Krispies cereal. That's for making sugary treats, not for your breakfast. That's dessert. You got to eat. Yeah, you got to eat more than just toast. They don't do as well in their school if they don't. And so now they know protein as a main, word. They're like, oh, this has protein. I'm like, no, that's fruit, sweetie. It really doesn't have any protein. Oh, well, this has protein. I'm like, nah, no, not actually. Nice try. But my youngest is 5 and they're figuring out what protein is from a young age. So.
Right. Yeah. And you guys talk. I'll get on Chat GPT and look up protein calculator. Like, that is, that whole, and we could talk about catabolic and anabolic and, and all of that. I know I feel like a complete protein hypocrite. Like, I preach protein all the time. And at the end of the day, like, I feel like I really accomplished something if I can get 100 grams of protein in a day. Like, really, really accomplished something. So where are your favorite protein sources? What are you girls doing and telling other people for tips and tricks on where are we getting all this protein?
So I'll go first. I pre-make a lot of stuff so that I have it handy so I can just grab it and go. I do a bunch of eggs with egg whites, and then I cut up this organic turkey breast that I like. So then that's a little bit of extra protein. Scramble it up and then do that a lot of times. There's organic chicken sausages I use, chicken patties. I cook a bunch of those up. So then, like, for a snack, I'll pair that with, like, I love avocado, nuts. I try to do a lot of different healthy fats, not keto by any means, but a little bit higher fat. What else do I do? Chicken, turkey. At night I try and do fish a lot. We've been eating more salmon. Try not to do a bunch of red meat, but I still we do steak each week. Things like that, because I am kind of the same way on the protein powders. I'll do the one, but I don't want to just be getting my protein from bars, shakes, stuff like that, because that's just not healthy. You need to be getting it from whole foods.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
And I love to eat the protein stuff. Like, we raise our own chickens. So I've got, lots of fresh eggs. And so I'll sometimes eat them. I kind of have gone through a phase where I couldn't stand them for a while, but now I can kind of eat, just depends on the form. Poached is probably my favorite for those. The runny yolk makes a good dressing on a salad too, just as an aside. But for a quick protein boost, I'll put collagen protein in my coffee or something, because the hydrosylated powder, it dissolves whether it's hot or cold. It really has no taste. I even put it in my tea, and I'm kind of a tea snob. Like, I couldn't taste it. Mostly I just put it in my coffee. And I used to do creatine powder in my coffee too, until I listened to somebody and they're like, yeah, if you put your creatine in your coffee, which isn't protein, but it's an aside, it deactivates it. Like, it gets rid of half the benefits of taking creatine. And I went, oh, rats. Okay, so now I have to come up with something else, because I would just put a scoop of collagen and a scoop of creatine in my coffee along with, cream, and away I went. I went, well, if I'm going to bother taking it, probably should take it when it works. So I'm on the search to find something I can put it into that I'll actually drink on a regular basis. But collagen is great because it has no flavor. I can put it in soup. I could put it in anything. One time, I put some collagen protein in my oatmeal a few years back, but I used the orange can instead of the green can. And yeah, it turned my oatmeal into gelatin, which is disgusting. I mean, it's like it congealed, and I can't remember if I finished it, but it was pretty much terrible. So make sure you find the hydrosylated. But I think it's like 9 grams of protein per scoop. And it can go in anything, because sometimes you don't want chocolate. Sometimes you don't want vanilla. Sometimes, you just want something that can boost some protein in whatever you're eating that doesn't change the flavor.
Can I ask you a question on the collagen?
Yeah.
I was told by a couple of my doctors not to drink collagen since
Really?
I have had, well, all through breast cancer, they had me stop it all through my treatments, and not to have it now because I don't know, I guess they're seeing rises in breast cancer with collagen. I don't know. I researched it a little bit, and there were some articles out there that if you've had breast cancer, don't drink it. I didn't know if you've heard anything.
No, I haven't. I'm not an oncology specialist. I have some patients who had cancer. It's its whole own certification process. There's the naturopaths who tend to treat that a lot. They get a FABNO certification, which stands for something, Board of Naturopathic Oncology or something, I think is how that goes.
Okay.
They do a lot more. That is something that I have never heard. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Okay.
Collagen helps to rebuild structures. It's good for your joints. It's good for your hair and skin. It doesn't build.
Before I had cancer, I had it every day, every single day. I never missed it. And yeah, so that was hard for me when I started chemo and all that. And they're like, okay, no collagen. I'm like, what? It was like taking my
I have to look at the studies, because, even if there's a study that says that's the case, a lot of studies are really done poorly and by people that have some kind of, ulterior motive. Not to say there isn't something of truth to that. I have to look it up because I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't added it back in yet. I have my appointment on Monday, so I'll see if I can now.
Yeah.
All right, you ladies, if you can do it on your screens, put your LAMD referral links in the comments. In the comments, I did give Dr. Keller's business line. She's an amazing naturopath, and she is taking new clients. So if you are wanting to do things more natural, and whether you're wanting to start peptides or you've got bigger problems that you would like somebody just, to sort things out with, she's an excellent resource. While they're doing that, I found ChatGPT averages of protein per weight. And ChatGPT made me all this huge thing of code that I think I could embed into my website for a protein calculator. That's kind of cool. That's not what I was asking. But so in general, if you are trying to lose weight or lose fat, your grams of protein goal should be 0.8 to 1 per body weight. So if you weigh 150, if you weigh 170, if you weigh 200, that's what you're going to use as your marker. If you're just in a maintenance place, you're just doing daily life, you want to stay in an anabolic state versus catabolic, and we can break that down a little bit if we want later on. That is 0.7 to 0.9 grams of protein per pound of body weight. If you are wanting to gain muscle, if you're in training, if you're trying to stack muscle, it is 0.9 to 1.2 grams per body weight. And if you are old, sedentary, retired, not doing much, it is 0.6 to 0.8 grams per body weight. So no matter how you look at it, that is more protein than I think most people are averaging. And we talk a lot about, like, for some, that catabolic versus anabolic is like deeper than we want to go with this conversation. But it's like anabolic is like your catalytic converter. Like you have to have that in the tank. You have to have the fuel in the tank. You have to have that protein in the tank to stay in a place where your body is repairing itself, where you're anabolic. If you don't have enough protein, if your fuel is low, then you're catabolic. Your body is breaking down. And a lot of times that happens when people are using GLP-1s by mistake. Like, so they are losing weight, but it's not necessarily optimal for their body because they're catabolic. Their whole body is breaking down. They're breaking down that muscle mass. And we hear a lot about that in GLP-1s. They get that negative, you're going to lose muscle, blah, blah, blah. And I like to talk about my thoughts on that a little bit, and we can go deeper into how we store glucose or glucogen or whatever. I always forget which name that is when it's stored. But like myself, my body composition, I am built like a feedlot steer, right? So when we talk about our body composition, and then we're in a farm ranch community, so think about your feedlot steer, your 4-H steer. When they want that animals, it's not just that their fat tastes good and sweet like corn. They are storing glucose in that muscle. So they're feeding that animal grains. They're feeding it corn. They're making it stand still and eat all day. And you store that glucose in your muscles. So that's how I've been. That's how I'm built. Like, I make a really good feedlot steer, or heifer, I guess, or whatever. My muscles are bulky since birth. Like, I've got huge calves and not exercising, right? So my body is trying to adjust, and being on the GLP-1s, I am squishier. Like, so a lot of people maybe would want to go freak out and say, you're losing muscle. I'm not. I'm losing dirty glucose that's been stored in my muscle. So I'm not losing as fast as other people that haven't stored 50 years worth of sugar in my muscles, in your liver. Your body stores that dirty sugar in your liver. So sometimes it takes a little bit more doing, but I can feel my body composition changing. Like, I walk with a weighted vest. I'm not worried about losing muscle. I need to gain lean, elongated muscle and lose that dirty feedlot heifer glucose muscle, right? So my metabolic picture has been screwed up my whole life. I have lost and gained the same 20 to 30 pounds multiple times. So every time you do that, you hinder your metabolic picture, right? So at 50 I'm playing the long game, right? We're playing chess here. I'm playing the long game. Do either one of you guys have any comments about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Meat, talking about red meat, eating it or not eating it, and how they raise the beef. Actually, grass-fed is almost as good for you as fish. It gives you all of those omega-3 fatty acids, the healthy ones, not the questionable inflammatory kind. And you look back at pioneers, and they didn't take fish oil. I mean, I guess cod liver oil was like the remedy that your mom gave you when you started, feeling it. But they didn't have that stuff. They stayed healthy because they ate real food, and their cows ate grass. If they finished them off, well, I don't know. But we out here, I live in an agricultural area too, and we get a cow from some friends of ours that raise them grass fed, and the meat tastes really good, and it's tender. There's still tasty fat on it, and I have to admit, my kids are like, I don't want to eat the fat. I'm like, great, toss it over here. But it's not inflammatory, and it's a good source of iron. I've struggled with anemia too, and sometimes the diet just isn't enough. So that's something that I go for. But as far as I was going to say the protein too. If you're eating a lot of protein, especially meat proteins, I highly recommend a digestive enzyme. There's in the carnivore book, I forget the name of which one. There's a number of them out there, but it recommends having some lipase, which is the enzyme that dissolves fat, along with the proteases and all of those. There's several different ones designed to go along with. So the cider vinegar is definitely one piece. But, I've got other folks on, 2 or 3 different enzymes with their meals to make sure that it's dissolving well. I've got, somebody I know on carnivore, and they've had stomach surgery. And so that decreases your ability to absorb already. So we're definitely, going with those. And I think I was supposed to answer something else, but those kind of crowded it out. You asked me something else. So, why don't I let Jen talk, and then
I was just gonna say I'm a snob now with my protein and stuff I eat, and I only do grass-fed. That's all I will do. My eggs, because we don't have chickens, and I have tried buying farm fresh chickens, but I'm so sensitive that even the chickens are eating corn or grains or whatever, I get sick. So I get organic pasture raised eggs. I get the organic, I think, farm raised or something like that for my family because they can tolerate that. My system can't. So, yeah, I'm just such a snob with everything now, but I feel better. It makes a huge difference. So I don't even like steaks at Costco. I don't buy those anymore. I usually, if we go to barbecues and stuff, I'm bringing my own food. It's just easier for me. So it's worth it to me because I don't like feeling like crap. I feel really, really good now. And so I don't like feeling crappy.
Well, and you've had some big scares, right? Like when I'm working with clients, I've gotten some negative feedback for how I talk. Like you, Jen, you're a cancer survivor. Like a lot of people, you didn't make some of these big changes until your back was against the wall and you were fighting for your life, literally, right? Mm-hmm. Like I've gotten some negative feedback, like people like in my community will like, oh, Tanya's just trying to scare people into working with her. Well, hell yeah, I guess I kind of am, right? Like I have done some lives where I take my toxin panel from before I started this lifestyle to like a couple years later. Like I had bad mold in my body that causes kidney cancer, right? We talk about Dutch tests, and like my beta glucuronidase was off the charts. I was absolutely set up to be a cancer patient. Had I had not changed what I did, like I don't have this awesome testimony because I didn't actually get a cancer diagnosis. So my testimony is different. It's like, if you feel like shit, there's a reason for it. Mm-hmm. You know, our lifestyle is part of it. Our immune system, cancer is always a disease of the immune system. And this thing doesn't just happen all of a suddenly, you know, it's happening behind the scenes little by little. So like, you are amazing. You've taken that diagnosis, you've taken control of your health, and you're not going back. You know, you're doing absolutely everything that you can to move forward in health. So, like,
Well, it's kind of
scary. Chemtrails are scary. Tap water is scary.
yeah.
It's all scary.
Well, and it's kind of funny because before I got diagnosed, it was just a few years of horrible crap. Like I had an ovarian tumor, non-cancerous, thank God. Then 2 months after that, the Hashimoto's. Then a year after that, the cancer. So when I got diagnosed with the Hashimoto's, I was like, I'm not going on any medication because I had hypothyroidism too. So they wanted me on the levothyroxine. I'm like, I'm gonna heal all this with the anti-inflammatory diet. And I was doing the anti-inflammatory diet, but at that time I wasn't doing like grass-fed. But I also think my body was in such an inflammatory state that it was fighting against itself. And when I got first diagnosed, I think my antibodies were at like 200. I started the anti-inflammatory diet. They went up to over 1,300. So instead of even like helping at all, it just took, and they were over 1,300 the whole time. And not a single doctor was like, if we don't get this down, something bad's going to happen. Nobody said, you know, and I was trying myself, but I felt like at a loss. So I'm going to an endocrinologist who's telling me, I don't know, you just need to take this and we'll just wait until your thyroid burns out. That's what they keep telling me. We're going to wait until your thyroid burns out and then remove it. And that's why I'm really trying to heal this because I'm not going to have my thyroid taken out. So.
Yeah, that's real. That's scary stuff. And there's so many people out there who, you know, like working with somebody like Melody is really necessary, or even myself. And then if we've got problems, I refer them over to Melody. But there's so many people that go to the doctor, and when we're talking about antibodies, you'll go in, they'll test your thyroid, they'll do your TSH, which is your brain. What does it even have to do with your thyroid in the long run? They'll test your free T, your free 3, your free 4, and that's it. Then they don't just test your antibiotics. I don't know why. I don't understand that. But they will send you away. They'll say, oh, your labs are fine. Sorry, you don't feel any better. Eat less and go for a walk, right? And
Yep.
they don't test all those things. You have to complain in a normal medical model for years and years and years, or you have to have enough knowledge to specifically go in there and put your foot down and say, I want my antibodies tested. This is not an expensive test. This is not a separate blood draw. It's a couple of extra markers added on to the doctor's order, right? And your antibodies can be out of whack, like really out of whack, but your thyroid's still holding its own. Your other markers still look fine. But that's where we come in and we try to clean up that mess. Like, your body's not attacking itself. That definition of autoimmune disease, I just like to get on my soapbox and say that is bullshit, right? Your body was fearfully and wonderfully made. It will not attack itself. It is desperately trying to protect itself from something that should not be in it. And we can get rid of those some things when you have the right tools, when you have the right process, when you have somebody to help guide you through it, when you have stick-to-itiveness, like what we're doing is not for the weak at heart. You have to every day get up in an act of self-love and stick to the plan and choose not to do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. I think I probably had it for at least 7 years before I got diagnosed, because I actually had Hashimoto's books. And when I got diagnosed, my husband's like, he goes, wait a second. He goes and grabs a book off the bookshelf. I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about that. And because I had all the symptoms, you know, I was looking up online, all my symptoms. And the only reason I got tested, my body completely crashed. I was crawling to the bathroom every time I stood up. I was dizzy. I was so sick, and I ended up in the doctor's office. And she did draw an antibody test, and then she's like, "Oh, you have Hashimoto's. We'll see you in 6 months." And I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna die. So I ended up getting in with another provider, and she has been amazing. And my sodium was in the tank, my potassium was in the tank. So I had this thing with my heart rate was going up, like when I was resting, 144. That is not normal. And always had a super high heart rate. Since I've been healing my body, my heart rate's back to normal. Like, I just feel better. I'm still getting hot flashes, which I wish those would just go away forever, but I'm still getting those. Not nearly as bad. And I don't get the night sweats like I used to get. So, and all in all, I am feeling way better. I'm going to have to get off because I have another call in 5 minutes.
And that's a perfect place to wrap it up. I will make sure that you guys have access to this live. Just so you know, when you do live on Facebook, it'll live there for 30 days, but you should be able to download it to your phone from Facebook. So I know that's true for you guys. It might be true for other streamers. So if you're listening on the replay, I will post this. YouTube had kicked me off, but I'm giving it another shot. I've got a YouTube channel going again. I'll post this on YouTube as well. For people who want the replays, I'll make sure you guys have the link so you know where to find it. This was an awesome conversation. I think that there's probably a lot of people out there, live or on the replay, they were shy in the comments, like, we need more comments next time. But so much beneficial information, and we plan to keep the conversation going. So thank you for joining, and we'll see you ladies next time.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.